Welcome to the Modern Homes Podcast. Rob Clemens and
Frank
Dominic. Absolutely. Frank, what's going on, bud?
Just another day, another dollar.
Man, you've been staying busy in Myrtle Beach. Anything going on lately other than gigs?
I have been.
Yeah.
Not a lot of gigs, just real estate actually.
Yeah.
I had a few deals pop up in the time frame where it's usually slow.
Dude, you gotta get out some more. All you're doing is deals and gigs. And see, Rob Clemens, man, I'm enjoying the town. We were just at the Christmas parade a couple weeks ago. That was good fun. I did not realize how many people get involved with the Christmas parades, man. That is the place.
I'm trying to get over the Conway thing. I heard that's really
it was really good. You know, they told us not to throw candy this time.
Candy?
Don't throw candy. So you're in the parade and you want to keep everybody, you get lines of people. You want to throw them some candy and make them feel good. I was told don't throw candy because, well, do you know why?
You take a Tootsie Roll to the eye?
Well, a Tootsie Roll, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, man, am I welling this thing at people's head? No, what it is if you don't clear the street, people run out in the street and then bad things can happen. You know, that is not the Christmas parade we're looking for, you know, with the, So anyway, but amazing event, had tons of people out there. If you ever get a chance, just go check out downtown Conway.
Oh, I like it that.
For those people that are not from the Myrtle Beach area, Conway is a little west of Myrtle Beach. Quaint little town, but they're always doing fun stuff. They during Halloween, they put the Halloween jack-o'-lanterns in the trees. And
they have some ordinances there where they're keeping things the way they've always been.
Well,
so they keep that charm.
Yeah, they keep in the old school charm, and it's a fun place to be. I'll tell you, if you ever think about moving to the Myrtle Beach area, check out Conway. It is up
Conway
next.
will save you a few bucks in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, home of the Chanticleer, Chant's up always. So, I'm a Coastal Carolina grad, gotta love it. And but no, it's definitely a good thing. But without further ado, we're going to jump into what's the subject of today's show. We want to talk a little bit about questions that come up every day. You know, I'm a builder, contractor. I'm a realtor by trade. I of course, own the brokerage. Frank, you're in real estate. You help out with construction sales. And some of the most common things we get are whether you're living in your home right now or whether you're about to buy a home are, is this good? Is this bad? Do I have a problem? Do I not have a problem?
Can you come take a look at this?
Well, can you come take a look?
Common.
You know, the old free inspection that we all look forward to.
Nobody likes that.
But at the end of the day, I get it, man. Because you're living in your home, and sometimes it's the best way I can put it is it's like a doctor visit. You know, sometimes you get that little mole growing on your skin, and you're like, is this cancer?
Oh, it hurts when I do this.
Yeah, well, and realistically, yes, but Frank, I know, and we're laughing, but it's true. If you get, it hurts when I do this. Well, do I have a torn labrum or I have a little muscle soreness and I can't tell the difference?
Rotator cuff issue, what's going on?
There you go. So in this case, I guess we're the doctor. Yeah. But ultimately, you're thinking about buying a home. I want to give you this sense. This is the Modern Homes Podcast. You're out there, you finally decide to go buy your modern home, and you're looking around, you're going, is this a problem or not? Should I make the offer or not? When I get the inspection, should I go through with the purchase or not? So I want to talk a little bit about that today. What do you say?
I agree with that 100%.
Well, what's step one?
Step one for me is I don't care if it's a newly constructed home, you always get a home inspection.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go. All right,
that is step one.
I think that's step 1A, okay?
Okay.
Step one, which I kind of threw a little monkey wrench in this, but I need to tell you a story to get into this.
The people buying houses without inspection?
Absolutely.
Craziness to me.
Absolutely, but there's a bigger point here, and I'm being dead serious here. In the last year, the Realtor Association got a lot of bad press. All right. A lot of bad press, Frank. And what I mean by that is people heard of this lawsuit that happened nationally. And sometimes people say, well, let's not talk about that on the show. No, we're going to talk about it because people are thinking about it. And they're thinking like this is some salty game with realtors and getting in. I'm going to tell you why you need a realtor. 100% why you need a realtor. And I'm going to tell it through a story about my sister. And I think I've told you this off the air, but I want to, my sister.
That's real life.
Well, it's real life, and it hit close to home. But she bought I saw her one of the last holidays, and she comes to me and says, Rob, I think I made a bad deal on buying my condo. And I said, well, what do you mean? Why are you feeling so much buyer's remorse on it? She said, well, first of all, I don't know if I paid too much for the property. They came to me, I was renting this property, and then they said, hey, would you like to buy it? And we saw a couple other, homes around the area, and we thought, maybe this looks like a good deal. Okay, fine. So first thing they did is they bought the property without having any kind of a realtor assistance or
They
any
had no
professional.
buyer's representative.
They had no buyer's representative, and quite frankly, they didn't know, is this a good price? Is this a bad price? Is this going market price or what? So they bought the home, didn't even know if they got a good deal, and stay tuned on that. So then the next thing.
Ouch.
Well, it's an oucher. Well, would you buy anything? If you're going to buy a car, Frank, and somebody says, well, I'll charge you $100,000, would you do that without looking and seeing another car on the market? No. Well, so then the next thing happened. She said, and now we own the place, and we see this dark spot on the ceiling, and we're thinking, is this a roof leak? Can we go back to the person who sold it to us? And they said, well, that's not my problem. And they said, so we're not sure. I mean, is it their problem?
New home or older home?
Oh no, this is a condo that is I don't know how old it was, but it's not brand new.
There's no warranty.
No, there's no builder warranty on this thing. And so she says to me, I don't know, do I have any recourse on it? I said, well, did you have a diligence period? She says, what's a diligence period? I said, well, if you had a realtor, a good realtor is going to tell you, get a diligence period. This is your period when you've made an agreement to purchase the property, but you have a diligence period of so many days to do things like getting a home inspection, to check on if what kind of water and sewer they have, and all the other things that go in. Get a termite inspection on the house. So now this is my point. I think step one is get yourself a realtor. I know you think maybe you're saving money by not doing it. You are not. You're costing yourself money and potentially setting yourself up for disappointment.
I bought my current home from the builder without a realtor. And as a now real estate agent, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I got fairly lucky that I did have, in my walkthrough, I had a local contractor who was a friend of a friend. We hadn't met yet, but they did a walkthrough, checked things out, pointed some stuff out. But, having had a realtor, I would have known some other incentives being offered.
Oh, sure.
All that kind of stuff.
You might have got a better deal. You might have found out something. And in that diligence period, which today we're talking all about home inspections, that may have illuminated you to, so I should get a termite report.
Yes.
I should get a home inspection.
Yes.
And sometimes with that home inspection, we may need to look at some things that the home inspector needs to explore further. And at some point, we may have decided, do I even go forward with this property? So,
Even a new constructed home, an inspection is key. Not that there's going to be issues per se, but there could be things. Everyone makes a mistake.
Yeah.
Anytime there could be an oversight. You could have the highest rated custom home builder, and they can have something they forget, which could be a key element of the stability of your house.
Absolutely. Well, to go back to your point, if you're buying a new construction in your state, wherever you live, and we're in South Carolina,
get a realtor that represents you.
Well, get a realtor that represents you, but to go to your clearest point, you're saying, if it's a new construction, there is a warranty on the property and there is a statute of repose. So these builders have a responsibility to make sure that there are not sufficient defect or the insufficient building standards being used, and you do have some recourse. But to go back to one other area of clarity, get a realtor. Sometimes people say, well, I was working with a realtor, but you were probably working with a realtor that is working for the person selling the home. Their responsibility is not to you, folks.
I've noticed since I bought my house 2 or 3 years ago that when you walk into a sales office, it says I've helped people buy new construction homes, which I do recommend to a lot of people because it's a solid home for the value.
Yeah.
But there's a little sign in each one of those offices. I think they're required. It says the agent on staff works for the builder.
Yeah, and that's a modern development that people have started doing.
Wasn't there before.
Yeah. Well, there's a confusion, and again, I feel like even though I'm here to talk about inspections with you, I feel like we have to set the ground rules of understanding. I was working with a realtor. Was that realtor representing you, or were they representing the seller? And you need to know that. There's two sides potentially of every real estate transaction. So get yourself a buyer's agent specifically if your state has that. And of course, in South Carolina, we still have that. And that buyer's agent's duty is to to walk you through the process. They're here to help you and make sure you make a good decision. All right, so now finally we've gotten to the home inspection. And Frank, I'd like to spend the next 8 to 10 minutes talking about key things that you should be looking at in these. Maybe not all things, but what are some of the key things that you're seeing on home inspections that people are needing to get addressed?
Well, first off, I'm going to give you a 2-point-A. You want to sort of vet out your inspector. You want to get, maybe get an example of their work, check to see who has used them before, because I've used a series of inspectors because I have a lot of real estate clients, and some reports are very in-depth, all of them are covering all the bases, but some are more in-depth than others. And some have extra services like thermal cameras or a sewer camera, just things you might want to check on an older home.
Well, that goes back to a show we had, I think, last time where we talked about vetting whoever you're using to do your product. But absolutely, even picking your home inspector, you need to check somebody who is going to stand behind. Do they have some credentials? What kind of insurance do they have if there was a problem? But the inspector is just that. They're looking at surface things that they can see and testing things, but you want to make sure you get a thorough inspection. So I appreciate that. Once that inspection's been done, so we have now step 1, get yourself a buyer's agent. That's a good step if you can do it. Step 2, get ask for an inspector, but step 3, make sure that you vetted that inspector.
Absolutely.
How quality of a job are they going to do? Now you get into the home inspection. What kinds of things are you seeing out there that seem to sometimes be problems, if any common?
First thing I do when I walk into a home, just out of habit, is I look up to see if I see any water spots. If it's a single story, or I go to the top story and I see if there's any water spots. You can tell by the color if they're new, if they're old. I also take a look, I should say prior, and this is something I gauge from you before I walk in the house, I look at the roof. Just to see the lay of the shingle, to see how things look. You can tell if there's been any repairs, any damage, or any noticeable wear.
Well, you got me into that. When you've hired your agent, a lot of them will steer you towards looking at a property disclosure statement. When a home is being listed, unless it's being sold in some manner that is a new home, doesn't typically have a property disclosure statement. Nobody's lived in there, but
or a current inspection,
or a current So typically you do have to. You want to know about that. The thing that made me think of it is you said, "Hey, I look up and see if there's stains on the ceiling." There is a properity disclosure statement that will often go with it, and then the seller has to say, well, am I aware of any problems that have been created? So anyway, with that being said, here would be some of the things I'd look at, I start from the bottom going up. Cracks. I get a lot of questions about cracks in concrete and what it means. So traditionally, unless we're getting to 1/4-inch thickness cracks, a lot of times we're dealing with cosmetic cracks. And of course, there's limitations to that. Does the crack run all the way across a certain slab? Is it a structural area or not? A non-structural area is something like a driveway. A structural area is a foundational part of the foundation that is actually cracking. How thick is that crack? 1/4-inch is a good mark for you. And if you're seeing these little hairline cracks, traditionally that's not really a warranty thing, but that's something people are looking for. Look at your foundation first, right? I don't know. Have you seen much of that in your current homes you're going to? Not really? Okay.
It's usually minor, surface level, like you said. I mean, it's extremely common to see a driveway poured in the next couple of years, and it has a few.
Oh yeah, you expect.
You just can't avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely. Other things I'd look for are typical things. Windows with what they would call seal failure. There's 2 panes of glass in between that pane. You're seeing fogging come up. Something has gone wrong with the actual connection from the glass to glass, and so now you're seeing airflow. People say, why is that a problem? It's not just cosmetic, but that air between the glass is your insulation barrier. So it does not perform as well when you see that failure, right? So that's something to clearly look at. What else? Roofing. I would definitely say roof is a biggie.
It's a big. I recommend. There's 3 things I look at as the realtor for a client, whether they're buying or selling. I look at the roof, and I look at the age of major appliances, water heater, HVAC, anything like that, because those are large expenses for a buyer or seller. And you have to factor those in. If you're looking at an older home and the roof has been replaced and they updated the air conditioning system, the HVAC system, and they put new counters and cabinets in the kitchen, As long as the bones of that house come back on a clear inspection, that's a good value.
I've noticed some of the better inspectors will actually list the presumed age of a unit and when that unit will typically go bad. Let me give you an example. They'll say, well, in my inspection, I did not note any problems with the HVAC system, but it is a 16-year-old system. Systems in this area will get 18 to 20-year lifespans or whatever that may be. I feel like that's great guidance from an
It's great
inspector.
guidance.
Because, he's saying, or she's saying, it may not be a problem right now, but be aware that this could be coming down the pipeline. And again, sometimes I feel like I'm hitting up good reasons to do new construction. A typical HVAC replacement, depending on the size of the house, can be 15 to 20 grand in some cases. So if I'm going to have to spend that in the next couple of years, I got a phenomenal deal on the house.
Phenomenal deal.
But I'm still spending this money in a couple of years,
coming.
right?
It's coming.
So be ready for it. So you say the roof. Now, here's some things I would look at on the roof. Typical things that your inspector will probably find depending on what they do. And you need to know, is your inspector going to walk the roof or not? A lot of them will not walk a roof.
Not uncommon.
All right. So, but here's the things I'm typically looking for. We're 10 to 12 years in. One of the first things is that boot pipe still holding in. A lot of the old 3-in-1 boot pipes, you put it on day one and you have these limited lifetime warranty shingles. That's a whole other show. What's a limited lifetime, by the way? Anyway, but you get into them and they put on a boot that will not last traditionally more than 10 to 12 years. The little rubber started to have some dry rot on it. It was never a good cut anyway. These things start to fail and now all of a sudden you got a roof leak. So I'd be looking at the roof for sure.
I have a house under contract right now that has that issue. It's 8 years old.
Oh, okay. Yep. 8 years. I mean, well, look, you know what ages those things, right? Everybody's always looking at, well, was it hurricanes? Was it whatever? No, it's the UV light from the sun that's doing a lot of damage there.
Something I did notice here in comparison up north where I'm from is roofs wear faster here because of the amount of non-stop heat and sunlight.
Yeah, the sunlight, that UV light is.
You would think it would be
killer.
more elements, but that element's the key element. It is such a unadulterated blasting of that light. And you go into certain parts of the country. Look, if you're up in Seattle, I don't know how their roofs are done up there, but I think they're probably getting a little less sunlight, so the homes could be lasting longer from the roofing standpoint. Pennsylvania and Maryland, you're looking at, I would say, another 8 years on the roof.
Well,
easy.
And I think those are things you got to look at. And then let's hit up a couple other items because we don't have a ton of time left on the show, but I want to tell people things that they should be looking at. One thing I would do is go to the house when it's raining if you can.
Great. I always suggest
Fair enough, right?
I love to show houses in the rain.
Yeah, because not only are you going to see leaks that may be happening or even worse, electrical issues, which could be weird, but is the yard draining properly? And if it's not, this could be an expense to you later on.
Oh my gosh.
And people have a way of fixing things up to look good in the meantime until you move in and you're going, why do I have a lake in my backyard every time we get a little rain? Yeah, so something to check out. The other hot buttons for me are check your sinks, look for leaks, flush the toilets. And you may be thinking, well, these people have been living in the house. Nothing saying they're using that third bathroom that's upstairs, right? So you do go flush everything, open and close the windows. That's a biggie for me. And your inspector should be doing this, but these are things you could be doing before you even think about an inspector per se. And my last thing, and this is my last tip, and I don't know if you have any others for the show. When it comes to your electrical, look, save it for an electrician, have your property inspector do it, but I do like to flip on and off lights. I like to plug in things in the outlets. And if something's not working, find out why. It may not be a benign problem. It may be something more that needs more research.
I always, like I said, my three hot buttons are because of their expense: roof, HVAC, plumbing.
Yeah.
Those three things. And, this is not an inspection item, but cost-wise, is that kitchen updated to a level you like it?
Absolutely.
Because we know the most expensive updating your house is your kitchen.
Yeah, 100%. So you do need to look at that. But sometimes we get into that best bang for your buck. Maybe you got a good enough deal that you can fix that kitchen up yourself and
you'll get the dollars back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's one of those things I believe in. I'll kind of wrap some of these concepts with this. I get this question sometimes. When I buy my house and I have a home inspection, does the home have to be updated to modern building codes? And that answer is, and by the way, there may be municipalities around the country that may enforce something like that. Traditionally, the answer is no.
No.
Usually you're grandfathered in unless there's some, exceptional situation in your municipality. So don't take that for gold. Yeah. But it is generally you're grandfathered in. But that does not excuse a builder from doing safety things or a seller from safety things. So do check out these little things. Make sure you're okay.
Agree 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the rainy day and visit, that's my favorite.
It's my pro tip right there. Make sure you get out there.
Love it.
And if they have a swimming pool back there, make sure you know what's going on with that, because those can be. I got a swimming pool, but they are always got something going on with them, man. So anyway, well, Frank, any other hot tips for today, man?
I'm all set.
Yeah, you're all set. You going to the beach this time of year? Where it's. We're getting towards January. It's kind of cool. I will leave you off with this.
Once in a while, I will go down there. Yeah. Once in a while.
I will leave you with this. There are people from the north who will still go to the beach, get in the pool this time of year in our area.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's that flip-flop. I was talking to somebody from Wisconsin the other day, and they said, look, in June one time it snowed in Wisconsin. Yeah. I lived in Wisconsin for a year, so I know what that's all about. So enjoy wherever you're at. Know that there's always different things in different areas. So if you listen to the show today and you have some tips from your area, I'd love to hear them.
100%.
Yeah, 100%, because this is meant to be for everybody. So anyway, well, without other comments, we're going to let this one go for this week. We thank you for listening. Make sure to like and share us on your social media of choice, and we'll see you all next time on the Modern Homes Podcast.